Good. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this virtual field trip to visit a hog farm. We're very excited today to have you with us. My name is Melissa Bell, and I'm with the Ohio Pork Council, and we host these virtual field trips. I'm excited to have our farmer producer with us today, and that's Phil Hord, and you'll meet him in just a second. But before we move over to Phil and his farm, I would like for all of the schools, if you would please, to introduce yourself and let us know where you're from. So just want to make sure that everybody is here. So we have Mrs. Haig's class from Stanislaus, from St. Stanislaus. All right. How about Ms. Lamberto's class from Baker Elementary School?
Turn this way, turn at the camera. Hi. We have the whole grade here.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, the whole fourth grade's here.
That's great. Good to see all of you. All right, Mr. Mann's class from Valley View Elementary School in Columbus. I believe you are here also. Yep, perfect. Okay. Mrs. Corbett's first graders from Horizon Science Academy. Welcome. And Ms. Gardis's class from Kindergarten School in Westchester. Hi. All right. Well, I do. And then we also have an observer. We would like to introduce Claire Thorne, and Claire's from Central State University. So you can wave at us too. Hi, Claire. Glad to have you join us. Before we move over to talk to, hi there. Before we move over to meet our farmer, Mr. Hord, I would like to thank the sponsors of this activity, Farm Credit Services of Mid-America, the Ohio Soybean Council, and Cargill. So they are great supporters of this program, and so we're looking forward to having a lot of fun. So with that, I would like to introduce our farmer producer today, and that is Mr. Phil Hord. Are you there, Phil?
How's it going?
Hi, good to see you.
Good, you too. Well, welcome to my farm. Today we are in what is called a growing barn, and these pigs are about 4 months old that you're seeing here, and they weigh about 185 pounds. And so today we are fortunate to be outside or inside and not outside. Maybe it's snowy outside at your school too, but it's snowy at the barn today, so it's nice to be inside. It's about 70 degrees inside the barn here, so it's nice and comfortable and nice for the pigs inside. So I will flip my camera around and we can talk about the pigs here a little bit. So what we're looking at here is we have all the pigs separated in pens, and so we can separate them by age and by size. And so like I said earlier, these pigs are about 4 months old, and so they have grown really fast and really big, and they're healthy animals. So I'll show you some things inside the pen just so that you can kind of learn about what's in the pen here. But you can see there's some pigs up at the feeder here, and this is where they get their food. I'll reach in here and grab some food for you to see, but basically they eat a ground food that is consistent of corn and soybeans for their protein, and we have included vitamins and minerals for the pig. And we have special diets, special foods for the pigs that we feed them for different stages of their life. So when the pigs are smaller, they have different foods. We make special food for them then, and then as they get bigger, we make different kinds of food for them as they grow. And so you can see in the back of the pen, you can see this pig is trying to get some water. That's their drinking fountain there. So they kind of put their mouth on there and they can get a drink just like you guys would from the drinking fountain. And that's pretty much it. So
Okay, very good. So can you tell me, Phil, how many hogs are in that, how many pigs are in that building?
yeah, so we're looking at about 27 pigs that are in this pen. And then throughout this whole side of the barn, there's about 1,000 pigs. So there's a lot of pigs in this barn, but we try to give them the adequate amount of space that they need as they keep growing. And here, as they keep getting bigger, we will start making sure that they are marketed and that they have enough room and everything like that.
How many total pigs do you have at your farm?
Yeah, so this farm has 2 rooms. There's this room, and then if we go through the hallway over there, there's another room that looks like that. And so there's about 2,000 pigs total at this farm.
Perfect. All right, Phil, why don't you tell us just a little bit about your family and about your farm's history and a little bit more about how you got involved in agriculture and in farming?
Sure, yeah. So I went to school and I have my degree in business finance. And so on the farm today, we might not think of things and doing money and business and things, but that's really important that we make sure that we have that in line. So I work some with that, but then I also get to work with our animals every day and make sure that they're growing well. And so my bachelor's degree is in finance, and then about the last 3 years, I've been working with different teams on our farms. Our family has been farming for over 100 years, and so here today we have about 200 people that work with us on our farms every day, and we work with 100 families to grow the pigs, just like in these barns like we're seeing today. So we don't do it all of ourselves, but we can help other farmers out by having them help us grow the animals. So we help each other out. They help us take care of the pigs, and then that helps us because we can have other people help us with the care of the animals.
Good. So tell us, have pigs always been raised indoors on your family farm?
They haven't. That's a great question, actually, and is one that is important to talk about. So my great grandfather actually started raising pigs outside, and he raised them in the woods. And through progression of technology, and as we learned about science, as we continued to learn more about the pigs, we learned that we could be more efficient by raising them inside. But we also, and more importantly, we help give them better care by having them managed inside the barn. So the 3 main things that pig farmers are mostly concerned about every day are they're simple things. It's air and food, like I showed you earlier, and water. So as long as the pigs have fresh air, they have food, and have water, those 3 basic things are really important. And by having them inside, we are able to keep track of them. We can have special pens for special pigs, and there's a lot of advantages other than just keeping them out of the cold weather in the winter. And in the summertime, we have fans at the other end of the barn that help pull the air through the barn to help keep them cool. This barn also has misters, so the pigs actually get a sprinkler system. They get to go run through the sprinklers like you guys probably do in the summer. That's what they get to do in the summer to help stay cool too. So there's a lot of advantages for having them inside, and a lot of that has been able to help us save more pigs and by able to keep them healthier.
So one big question I have is, if all the pigs live inside, where do they go to the bathroom? And then what do you do with all their poo?
Yes, that's a great question. So I'm going to turn my camera around and so you guys can see. So if we look closely, there's those black lines. They're actually not black lines. There's a little small hole. And so in the pen, when the pigs go to the bathroom, that falls down into those holes and it gets to be held underneath the barn. And then we have special farmers that help. They basically remove that from the bottom of the pit, and we apply it as the organic fertilizer onto the fields so that we can help raise more food to feed the animals.
Very good. Will pigs, one of the questions was, so what do you wear to the barn? And do you have to clean yourself before or after working with the pigs, and why?
Sure, yeah. So I have different types of clothes that we have at different barns, but today I'm kind of just wearing a blue, it's kind of like a shirt on top and pants on the bottom, and then we wear boots in the farm too. So I've got some rubber boots on. But in my other barn, so one of the other barns that we have that is more focused on small pigs, it's much warmer in there because small pigs need it to be much warmer inside to help them stay warm as they're so small. And I actually have just shorts and a t-shirt that I wear in there, so it doesn't look too special, not too special of clothes. But whatever helps keep us safe and comfortable is usually what we wear. So the other thing, to answer your question about the showering or cleaning, is that at our birthing farm, so where these pigs were actually born, we do have showers at those places. And so what we do is to help keep the animals healthy, because we can actually spread germs to the pigs just by what's on our skin and what could be on our clothes. And so on those farms, on those birthing farms, we actually take a shower and we wear special farm clothes inside the barn so that we don't bring any germs to the pigs when we go to see them every day. It's kind of silly, right, to go take a shower and then work with the animals, but we do that because we want to keep the pigs healthy as possible.
Very good. One of our schools has a question. The kindergarten school asked, do you have to wake up really early?
Some days, yes. Some days we wake up early. I get up at around 5:30 every day. Some farmers like to get up even earlier than that. Some maybe get up a little bit later, but that's usually when I wake up, is around 5:30.
Let's see. How about if we move to some live questions from the schools? So do any of our schools have any questions that they would like to ask? We can start with the St. Stanislaus School. Do you have questions for us?
Sure. Riley, what's your question?
Let's take 2 questions from this school.
Riley.
Does he have to like the corn and
So the question was, what do you feed the pigs and where does the food come from?
Very good. Great question.
Riley.
Yes. So the question was, what do I feed them and where does it come from, right?
Yes.
So, okay. So I will bring this back up. So this is what the food looks like. It's corn. So it's not the same corn that maybe you get from the store, but it's ground up corn, field corn. So they grind it up in a big mixer, and then we mix in some protein. So maybe your brothers or sisters or your mom or dad takes protein shakes when they work out. We have to get an amount of protein. We use that, and so the protein source that we use is soybean meal. And so you can see there as Dan switched the screen that's what the soybeans look like before they're ground up. And then once we grind them together and we mix it with vitamins and minerals, do any of you take vitamins? Like, I know when I was younger, I took Flintstones vitamins. That's kind of what we do for the pigs, right? When they make sure they get enough vitamins and minerals. That's what we mix that in with their food too.
Very good. Is there another question from your class?
Do you have any other questions about it before you ask it? Any? So the question is not about the grown-up pigs, but about piglets, and how many does the average female pig have?
Good question.
Awesome question. Yeah. So on our farms, our mother pigs usually have about 14 to 15 piglets per litter. So they have lots of brothers and sisters.
Very good. We thank you very much, St. Stanislaus. That's great. Those were great questions. Let's move on to Miss Lamberto's class from Baker Elementary School.
Okay.
Hello. Can we take two questions from your class, please?
Yes. The first one is, what is it again? What if the piglets don't eat as much as they need to? If they're not eating enough? And can we see the piglets if you have any?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
The question was, sure, Phil, the question was, what happens if a pig doesn't eat enough? And the next question was, can we see some piglets if you have any?
Okay. Well, at this barn, this is a special barn for these size of pigs. So we didn't, these came in when they were about half this size. And so they've grown to be this big. So at this farm, we don't usually have multiple sizes of pigs at the same farm. And so because these are all in similar age. So like if we go over to this pen over here, you can see that they look the same size. So unfortunately, we don't have any small pigs here at this farm. But the other, oh yes, Dan brought up a picture of a little piglet for us. So that's what they look like when they're first born. They're about 3.5 pounds when they're first born, and they grow really quickly. They stay with the mama pig for about 3 weeks, and then we wean them to a special nursery barn, which would be the place where we could see some other small pigs, but the farms are not actually at the same place. So we have them at a different location. In regards, or in terms of what happens if a pig doesn't eat as much as he should, we actually have special pens here at the barn where if we see that one is maybe falling behind some of the other ones, we can move them into these special pens that we have, and we can give them special care over here. So right now we don't have any in this pen over here, but that is one thing that we can do to try to give them special care and make sure that they get back up to where they need to be. That's a great question, though.
Very good. One more question from Miss Lamberto's class.
What is it? What do they do when the pigs get sick?
Yes. So on our farm, we work with our veterinarian, and he comes out to the farms if we have something that we're not sure what the animals might have gotten the germs from. So he'll come out, and then we will look at courses of action for treatment. So he helps make sure that the pigs are getting the right vaccines and that they are getting the right types of food and things like that. And so we work together, the farmers work with the veterinarian when the animals fall sick.
Great. Very good. We have two questions from Valley View Elementary, Phil. The first one is, how big will a pig be before it is harvested?
Great question. Yeah, so these ones have about 80 pounds to go because right now they would average about 190 to 200 pounds. And so usually we are marketing the animals at around 280 pounds. Sometimes when they get a little bit bigger than that, that's okay. But you can see the chart here. So like we said earlier, They're about 3 pounds when they're born, and they gain several pounds until they get weaned, and then they keep getting bigger. And it's all about the breed of the pig. It's all natural. So we can't give pigs any hormones or anything like that to help them grow faster. It's all natural that they grow the fastest they do, and that has to do with the kind of pig that we're raising. And we focus in on that to try to make sure that the pigs are growing as best as they can.
How many hams can one pig make?
Great question. So the hams actually come. Dan, do you have that picture of the meat? Maybe not. So the hams actually come from the back side of the animal.
There you go.
So yeah, there we go. So usually we get 2 hams from the pigs, because one from each of the rears of the animal. And depends on if it's a bone-in ham. If that's the case, then there will only be 2 hams from a pig. But sometimes they take meat and they can put it together, and maybe it's not a bone-in, and so maybe they make several ham slices from the ham, and so therefore you might get more than 2 out of an animal. But as a whole, it's 2 per pig.
Good. Okay, let's see. Another question from Central State. What kind of pigs are you raising?
Great question. So these are a mixture of large white and Chester white, and they have some Hampshire. There's about 4 to 5 different breeds in their heritage, but they are generally what we consider they have land race in them too. So they're very typical of North American breeds. So yeah, it's a blend of about 4 that are shown, 4 or 5 that are shown on here. That's right.
Great. All right, we're going to move now to Miss Gardis's class, kindergarten school in Westchester. Do you have a couple of questions for us?
Yes, we do. All
Great.
right, go ahead, Amelia. Wow.
How can you tell that a girl and a boy?
She wants to know how you can tell the difference between a boy and a girl.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, well, we can look at, they have different parts on their bodies that we can look at that help us determine if it's a boy or a girl.
Did you have another question from Miss Gardis's class?
Yeah, go ahead, Naomi.
Why are daddy pigs so big?
Why are daddy pigs so big?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Why are daddy pigs' fours so big?
Oh, that's a great question. So sometimes the boars can be big. So at this barn, we actually don't have any of the boars that we would use to breed our pigs, but the boars do get big because they sometimes live longer than some of our growing pigs. So they can be a few years old, and so as they keep growing, as they get older, that's why they can get bigger. Good question.
All right, we're going to go now to the Horizon Science Academy in Columbus.
Eldrick, stand up and do your question.
Perfect. You have a couple questions?
Go ahead.
How do the pigs play?
How do the pigs play?
How do the pigs play?
How do they play?
Yes, how do they play?
Okay, great question. So they are very friendly animals. So if we get into the pen, they would like to jump around with us, but they play with each other, and so they don't really have a personal bubble. You guys have a personal bubble. They don't have a personal bubble. So they you can see in the back of the pen how they're kind of laying against each other. They like that body contact with each other. They play and jump around the pen and have a good time.
Very good. All right. We have a couple of other questions on here too. Can pigs catch viruses that humans get?
Great question. So yes, one of those common things would be the flu. So that would be one of the reasons why we can make sure that when we're sick, we don't want to go around the pigs, because pigs can catch certain flus. You guys ever have the flu? I hope not, but the flu is something that pigs can catch. And so usually when they get the flu, they don't feel as good, and they can just maybe not eat as much. But it's up to the farmers to help make sure that they don't get sick. And the nice thing about if they do happen to get a virus like the flu is that usually they don't feel very good for a few days, but they jump right back out and they feel a lot better once they get better. So their immune systems will fight the virus, and they'll come back to health, and they'll be great. They'll be just fine.
Good. And another question that we have is, do your pigs ever attempt to escape?
Did you guys see one that was just jumped up on the gate over here? So yeah, they do try. At this farm, we have the gates high enough that they can't jump that high. They won't get big enough where they can get over the gates. But some of them can get pretty sneaky, and they can learn how to. So when we open the gate here, this is how it opens. We basically put that up, and then we lift up the gate out of this little hole here. So sometimes if one gets out, or they can play with it with their nose, they can try to get the door open, but it doesn't happen very often.
Okay. You know what? I think I shortened Mrs. Corbett's Horizon Science Academy class a question. So if you guys would have one more question, we would love to take it.
Go ahead.
When you guys go to sleep, does the pigs go to sleep?
Do the pigs go to sleep when you go to sleep?
Yeah, they do. They actually do sleep during the night. They usually take lots of naps too. So they have an afternoon nap, and then they usually go to sleep by 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then they get up pretty early. So they probably get up sooner than what you and I do. But we still have, even though the pigs are inside, this curtain goes up and down depending on how much air needs to come into the barn. And we still have windows in the barn, and so they know what time of day it is and how dark it is outside too. So I think that probably makes them tired when it's more dark.
Okay, and I don't want to forget Mrs. Adkins' class from Mount Vernon. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask?
Yeah. Is your job at the pig farm like a job? Isn't you get a bonus and then go relax somewhere?
Is their job like a real job? Say that I missed the end of the question.
What is your average day like?
What is your average day like?
Yeah.
Okay. What is your average day like, Phil?
Yeah, so depends on what's going on that day, but there's some days where I'm working with our veterinarians and our farmer staff, and we're working on different things that are going on at the farms. There's days where I will come to the farm to help make sure that things are going well, but someone is always looking at the pigs every single day. So there's lots of opportunities if you like animals to get into agriculture, because animals still need care every single day.
Great.
Even on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Do you have one more question, Mrs. Adkins?
No, I think they had all their questions answered.
Okay, sounds good. I do have another question from Valley View Elementary, and they wanted to know, do the pigs ever refuse to listen to you?
Yeah, sometimes they can get a mind of their own. But for the most part, we have little red sort boards that we use to move them. And so when we want to move, say I wanted to move them to a different pen or something like that, they most likely, they most of the time they listen. So usually it's not a problem.
Okay, great. All right. And is there anything else, Phil, that you would like to say before we wrap this up?
No, just thanks for coming along on the tour, and I hope you guys learned a lot of things about pigs, and that you can feel confident that your farmers are doing their best every day to try to raise healthy animals, and um, that if you guys get older and you're looking for some type of fun job to do, I think there's a lot of fun things that farmers get to do every day. And so don't forget to remember agriculture. There's a lot of jobs, not just in pig farming, but in lots of different agriculture jobs too, to remember to think about. So it's a good opportunity.
Okay. I have another question. Do you have another minute there, Phil? Can I ask a couple more questions?
Sure, yeah.
All right. How old can a pig live to be?
Great question. So our pigs are actually only about 6 months when they go to market. So they grow from our 3 pounds to our 280 or 285 in about 6 months. So they grow really fast. And like I said earlier, we don't feed them any hormones or anything like that for them to grow that fast. That's just how they grow naturally. If we're feeding them the right foods and we're meeting their requirements, and so, yep, they grow. Our growing animals live for about 6 months.
Sounds good. Teachers, do you have any final questions that you would like to ask? If so, if you want to put that in the group chat, we can ask those questions before we wrap up. Baker Elementary wants to know, how do the pigs react to each other?
I would like to think that they think of each other as brother and sister. So sometimes they might fight with each other a little bit, but at the end of the day, you can see in the back of the pen that some of them are taking a nap and they're laying against each other. So I think they like each other. They ultimately are friendly. And
Very good. Why don't pigs sweat?
that is just something that's how I believe God created them. But no, they don't sweat. Just pigs in general do not sweat. So that's why it's important to make sure that they don't get too hot in the summertime. And that is they making sure they have access to water is really important too. And so yep, that's what it is.
When pigs get viruses, do they throw up?
That is a great question. That depends on the type of virus. So most of the time, like we were talking about flu, the flu virus earlier, most of the time they don't get sick or don't, get physically throw up sick when they have that virus, but they definitely can. I think it depends on the age of the pig and then maybe the type of virus that they get.
Let's see here. Have you ever been bitten by a pig?
I would like to think that it was a play bite. They are not as gentle as humans are. We have to remember they're still animals. So they don't bite mean. No, they might nibble a little bit.
How much meat is harvested from a 280-pound pig?
Great question. So usually we get about 75% of the live weight in what we call the carcass weight. So usually that means there's about for a 280-pound pig, we would have roughly 210 to 212 pounds of meat per animal.
Okay. Do they ever get any special treats?
Any special treats?
Treats.
Not often, no. My aunt has a few pigs at her house, and she likes to sometimes give them marshmallows, but I haven't tried that at my farm.
Okay. How fast can pigs run?
They can run pretty fast. So at this barn, we actually do some science things with the pigs. So it's kind of a fun project that we have here where we are measuring and testing different kinds of foods for the pigs. And so at this farm, we actually run them to a scale so we can weigh them. And so when I open this gate, if we open this gate and we let them go, they would run pretty fast. So they can run pretty fast.
Okay. Do you ever take the pigs out of their pens to play?
Well, at this farm, they get to go run and play when they go to the scale, but normally they stay in their pens to play.
Okay, very good. What is your favorite thing about pig farming? And do you have a favorite food that comes from pigs?
My favorite thing about pig farming is probably that it's not a very well-known or not a lot of people are still a pig farmer, right? So I think it's fun to be involved in something that is helping produce food for people, and it's really fun, especially if you like working with animals. And so yeah, that's what I like. I also probably like bacon the most. That's a typical answer, but I do like bacon.
Okay. And last question is, how do you clean the pigs?
Great question. So at this farm, we actually don't ever clean them. So they stay really clean. I think that's probably one of the more misconceptions about pigs is that they're always dirty. And as you can see, for the most part, they're pretty clean. And that's because of the type of housing system that they're in. So with the slots in the floor where the manure can go into the pit, and that helps keep their pen really clean.
Okay, very good.
Great question.
All right, well, with that, folks, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today. So thank you to everyone for visiting with us and participating in our virtual field trip. We would like, if you want, for everybody to give a clap and say thank you and wave goodbye to our farmers.
Keep going. You're not on the screen yet.
You need your.
All right, well, thank you, everybody.